Hi Year 11, this is Miss Wiggum. I'm just going to talk you through the paper that you'll be sitting on Tuesday, the 19th of May. So let's go through all the important bits of the paper. So, questions. When is your written exam? It's the Tuesday the 19th of May at 9 o'clock. How much does this contribute to your final grade? 40%. So it's a big chunk. How long does the exam last? An hour and 30 minutes. How many sections are there in the exam paper? There are 3 sections, A, B and C, but you do not answer all 3 sections. So you should answer 2 sections. You have to answer A. There's no getting out of that one. You have to answer section A, and then you can choose between B or C. Section B is scripted and section C is the live performance. Your teacher will have directed you as to whether you answer B or C. The majority of you will be answering section C, which is on Woman in Black. So, timings of the paper. How long should I spend on each section? You should spend 40 minutes on each section, with 5 minutes either reading the question at the start or going over your answer at the end. What is section A about? Section A is about your devised work that you did for the Oxford Literature Project or your recent scripted pieces. What is section B about? Section B is about your scripted pieces that you've just done, so Red Shoes, Wooden Frock, 100, 7 Deadly Sins. What is section C about? Section C is about the live performance, Othello or Woman in Black. For most of you, you will talk about Woman in Black because Othello is probably a long distant memory. So this is what it looks like if you were to put it down in a grid. Section A, B and C. As you can see, section A, you talk about your devising work or your scripted work. So Oxford stories or your recent plays. Section B is your recent plays. Section C is the live performance. Now remember, most of you will be answering section A and section C. Only a few of you are going to tackle B, and that is only if you've been told. So you answer section A on your scripted work and section C on Woman in Black. So really important. Section A, you answer on your recent project on scripted work, and section C, you answer on Woman in Black. You must bring a watch to the exam. Don't bring a mobile, obviously. Bring a watch because it is all about timing. Because section A has 4 questions. You have to answer all 4 questions, and you must spend 10 minutes on each question. That leaves you with 5 minutes to read over your answers. Okay, so bring a watch and answer all 4 questions in section A. They each have the same weighting of 10 marks, so spend 10 minutes. Good idea to think, right, what's the weighting of a question? 10 marks, 10 minutes. 20 marks, 20 minutes. Okay, so section A. This is very straightforward, and you can easily gain full marks on section A. So let's look at question 1. It's always been the same, question 1. It hasn't changed over the years. So you are, as a tip, to tick off each area of the list of questions. So, sorry, I haven't made that very clear. You tick off each of the items it's asking you to mention. So, state the name or title of your piece. State whether you were an actor or technician. Describe what the piece was about. State the period, style and genre. As we know, period is when it was set. Style is what it looked like, so it was non-naturalistic. Most of you were in a non-naturalistic play. You had elements of ensemble and choral work. And the genre is, where would your play sit if it was in a library? Is it a tragedy? Is it a comedy? Is it a melodrama? Is it fantasy? Where would that place sit if it was in a library? So there is a difference between style and genre, but your teacher should have gone over this in more detail. What was the performance space like? A studio theatre. Who was your target audience? All of you 15 plus. Did you use any technical elements? Here you can talk about rostra, about any lighting or sound that you had that enhanced the piece. Remember though, question 1 you only get 10 minutes. You can rehearse this question at home. Write it down, give yourself 10 minutes. Question 2 of section A. This will usually ask you about the preparation of practical work, i.e. the rehearsals, the classwork. You need to remember your skills as an actor and how they contributed to the piece. So talk about your vocal skills. Did you try accents? Did you try to have pause? Did you try a high-pitched voice or a low-pitched voice? What was your physicality like with the character? Your overall characterization for the part. So, examples of preparation work would include, for question 2, close reading of the text. That means you really look at what the lines mean, what's between the lines, what's the subtext. Blocking work. How did you position yourselves in those early stages on the stage? Creation of characters through hot seating. That's where you put somebody in a chair and the others ask you quick-fire questions. Use of improvisation. You might have put your characters in situations that they don't appear in the play. You get a more well-rounded character that way. Consideration of the text or devised dialogue. You know, how did you deliver the lines? How did you practice the lines? Was there a pause in there? Was it fast? Was it building tension? Exploration of character through research. If you were playing a bartender, you've no experience of being a bartender, so how did you try and emulate that? How did you try and show that was a realistic character? Okay, question 3. This usually asks you about the preparation stage 2. It might ask you to identify a problem and how you overcame it. So as a group or individually. But remember, it is asking you about you as an actor. So one problem we faced was that our characters were too similar. So we did some hot seating to find clear characteristics or links between characters would be a really good example. Or we wanted to give a social and geographical context, so we applied northern accents. This involved researching the accent from TV programmes and recording our voices, practicing accents on our family to create a convincing and engaging character. Because that's all about the preparation stage. You didn't just come up with a character, you had to work at it. So what did you do? Question 4. This is always about evaluating your success in the final piece. Yes, you were engaging as a piece. You all had really good pieces of work, and individually. But how do you know that? How can you evaluate that if in your question, in your answer, sorry. So the audience response, was there laughter? Was there silence? Don't underestimate silence. It's really important. It means they were really engaged. Was there feedback afterwards? Was there gasps from the audience? Were there tears? Did you watch your work back on the student drive? How do you know that you were successful in your final piece? Was the timing particularly accurate in a scene? Did you create that comedy? So you must evaluate your own contribution as an actor. Was your character successful at creating comedy, for example? Was your timing spot on? So now we move into some of the pitfalls in your answers, and this is what we've kind of gathered from your written responses, either as homework or mock exams. And some people write things like, we wanted to engage the audience. Well, how did you want to engage them? Be specific. Was it through a very emotional part of the play? It was very sad. It was funny. How are you engaging them? The audience felt part of the piece. This is what lots of you write. Well, how did they feel part of the piece? Could they relate to some of the characters? Did they laugh? Did they cry? The audience could relate to our piece, or the action was more relatable for an audience, is some of the things that you say. And you need to be specific. How did they relate to your piece? How can you tell they're engaged? Why and how are they engaged? So hushed silence, laughter, gasps, crying, sniffling. These are ways to make a solid evaluation of the effectiveness of the drama. You can also talk about how you watched your work back. Again, the audience felt part of the piece. That's sometimes what you write, but you need to detail how did they feel part of the piece. Was it through direct address from one of the actors? They can't really ignore you if you're talking to them directly. Were they made to laugh, cry, gasp? All audiences should be made to engage. What is it, though, that the actors or the technical team do to make this happen? Is it loud music? Is it creating comedy? Is it creating tragic moments? Creating silence? Very powerful silence. That was only about 2 seconds. Or shocking the audience. Maybe there's a particularly violent scene, or it was mimed, but there was a particular sort of violence to it, or it was shocking. Okay, and that is it, Year 11. Please look at all the exemplars that you've been given. Look at the help sheets. Section A is easy if you know how to answer it. It is about your experience in drama. All those lovely things you've done in the lesson. All those lovely things you've done in performance. Okay, come and see us if you need any more help. Thanks, bye.